Welcome to the Fertility Mind podcast. I am your host, Jessica Friesen, a certified fertility mindset coach, a sound healer, and an international best-selling author. My mission for this podcast is to give you weekly episodes where you hear my own success with IVF and how mindset and manifestation changed it all for me. You will also hear from my guests who share their success stories in the fertility world. I want you to know that you are not alone. Even when things feel tough and when things feel like they aren't going your way, the tools and techniques you will get in this podcast, I know can change everything for you too. So thanks for being here with me today, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Fertility Mind. I have a special guest here with me today, Vickie, and she is near and dear to my heart because I actually studied all of my sound healing and got my certifications with Vickie's courses that she offers through Life Changing Energy. And there has been such an immense learning that I've done, and sound healing has changed my life. It's changed my family's life. So without further ado, Vickie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Jessica. My name is Vickie Gould, and I certify sound and energy healers. And then I run an e-commerce store where I have the healing tools that a lot of practitioners like to use. I got into this because of my own journey with health and wellness. I have chronic Lyme disease, and I was diagnosed in 2009 and was told there's no cure, there's no protocol, there's nothing you can do. Go home and just try to accept that you're going to be in bed 16 to 18 hours a day, that you won't be able to think, that you can't go function, that you can't go to your kids' stuff. And I was like, really? Is that what my life is going to be? And so I started delving into a bunch of things. I became a master herbalist. I became a Reiki master. I looked into a lot of like aromatherapy and got into crystals. I used a Rife machine, and that's where everything changed. So when I found out about the Rife machine and how it would like generate frequencies that could help kill the bacteria inside me, then I was like, wait a minute, start looking at all the other things, and oh, everything's vibrating, everything's a frequency, I'm like, why didn't I know this? And then all of a sudden everything started to make so much more sense. And then I learned about, I got certified in life coaching and stuff like that, and realized how much the mind-body connection, like all these things started just lining up and making sense about things that happened in my past, stuff I was holding on to. It just went, and all of a sudden I was just like devouring everything that I could find about these different things that so many people don't really talk about. I'm glad now that the world seems a lot more open to it, but back in 2009, I mean, like, still thought that we were crazy people. Like my mom, alternative medicine, all that stuff, she was not supportive at all. And now she's looking at these things for herself, which is great. I'm glad she finally came around. But that's how it all started. And I was doing it just for me. Like sometimes I say it was just selfishly for me. I just wanted to have a quality of life that the doctors were telling me that I was never going to get. And I did try to accept it, Jessica. I really did. Like I was just like, Vickie, just accept it. Accept it. They can't do anything. There's nothing that it's just going to be this way. Accept it. And then, how like deep down in your soul, you're just like, but I have so many things to do. It's not true, and you just keep telling it's this whole thing back and forth. Accept it. No, it's not true. Yes, accept. And you're trying to just have the best life that you can have. And I'm just so glad that these things were revealed to me, that the people who came into my life and the little quote unquote accidents that happened about people mentioning this or that and my ears perking up going, wait, what are you talking about? That all those lined up so that I could just, find these things, investigate them, and then now to share it with everybody. It's just such a blessing for me to hear all the stories, and yours too, about how sound healing and energies and frequencies have been changing people's lives. It's just amazing.
It is. I honestly, like I mentioned in our conversation before we started, My daughter, out of nowhere, started having anxieties around thunderstorms or rain to the point like she was terrified to leave the house. And I thought, okay, like I want to give her different ways that she can do things. And I don't even know how I think it was an ad or something, how I came across life-changing energy. And I instantly was like, I want to see what this is. And I believe in the universe. I believe in synchronicities. I believe in all of that. So I was like, okay, I have to see what this is. And I was just sitting with my daughter and I was like, would you be interested in like just looking at different things? Because I want to help you and I don't want you to go on medications. I don't, because that's typically what doctors do as soon as you mention like any type of anxieties. Oh, we can put you on this and this, and it will just calm her. I'm thinking, no, like I believe in natural medicine. I believe the body can cure itself of a lot of things. And like mindset is a massive thing for me. So I started doing the courses and I fell in love and I bought this Solveggio tuning forks and she dings them when she starts to get nervous. And I even sent you a video. My 2-year-old son, he was dinging it, like, and he was putting it on her body. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because kids are always just absorbing and watching what we're doing. But they ask to use the tuning forks all the time. And that's what makes me excited because, this morning it was calling for thunderstorms and my daughter was like, Mom, I can't go to school. I said, yes, you can. We pulled out the tuning forks and she just even looked at them. She didn't even like ding them. She didn't even touch them. She's like, Mom, I'm okay. I can go to school. And I was like, this is amazing. And as soon as I started doing the courses, I got so excited of how I could put this into my business as my like being a fertility mindset coach because I know a lot of my clients, they're excited to learn about mindset, they're excited to learn about manifestation, but they still need that physical thing. Or, they want to do all the things, check everything off the boxes, whether it's acupuncture, sound healing, anything that they can do to increase it, like their chance of having their baby. And I just got so excited about how sound healing just aligns the body and does so many things. I'm thinking this really does help. So, can you tell me what sound healing has done for you and a little bit more about sound healing for anyone that is not familiar with it?
Yeah. So for me, I live with chronic pain. And Lyme did cause some anxiety as well. We would call it Lyme anxiety. And there were always like these times where if I was around too many people, I would just start being like, oh my gosh, I need to run away. And it was just this feeling of I need to get out of this room, or a feeling, it was really strange because it was like I wanted to go bash my head in the wall. And so it's interesting that at that time it was sounds, too many sounds coming at me that would make me feel that way. And then, it's sounds that actually calm me down as well. So it's kind of interesting how that works. It can do one thing and it can do another. And with sound healing, we use the vibrations or the sounds frequencies, and certain frequencies target different chakras or different organs in the body, or we actually have like 114 or something like that chakras, major and minor, but we generally talk about the main 7 chakras. And what sound healing can do is those chakras are energy wheels and they get blocked by certain things, whether it's something that's happened to us in life in the past, whether it's something we're holding on to, whether it's something that just happened recently, a conversation you had right this second with a friend or foe, or, somebody cut you off on the road, and these energy wheels in our bodies get uh, blocked, they get slowed down, they start doing, they're trying to be flowing, but they're having problems because of all the different things that come at us every day. And what the sounds and the vibrations do is it goes into our bodies and it helps to realign and balance those energy wheels that we have inside so that everything can start flowing again. And that's how our bodies were meant to operate. It's meant to operate with everything communicating properly with each other, that all the systems are flowing freely, that there's nothing blocked. And so what sound can do is help you get back to that homeostasis and that space that you need to be so that you can, go through life better and be better equipped to deal with the things that come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you had a client that was going through fertility treatments,
Mhm.
what kind of things would you start with them?
Yeah, well, I think everybody's different. You're a coach, your mindset coach, that there are things that can block energies, whether it is a true physical thing or it is a mental thing or a spiritual thing, right? And so I know that you probably do this. I'm sure that you do, is, you take an assessment, you talk to the person, you find out what's going on in their life. And a lot of people, I think, really feel like when it's an issue that they have, it's just that issue, but it's generally more than that, right? It's much bigger than that, just that issue. And so with sound, I would say that you want to balance hormones because hormones play a part in infertility, reducing stress and anxiety and promoting that relaxation because that relaxation will help them with the flow in their body. And so then what I do with those is when I figure out what it is that the person is having issues around, then I take and I translate that into which chakras are these. So the sacral chakra is often associated with health of the reproductive system, sexuality, those kinds of things. If you don't know, if somebody's listening and they're like, what the heck is she talking about with the sacral chakra? It's the second chakra, and it's located in the lower abdomen. And because it's right there where all the reproductive organs are, then that's why it's connected to that. So, like your ovaries, for the women, the testes, and the men, that's where the sacral chakra is. So, balancing that can help. And then, of course, improving the hormonal balances that are attached to those organs can help to address those issues. And then the solar plexus chakra, this is the third one. So, it's right above the sacral. It's located a little bit above the belly button, and this is connected to the endocrine system. So again, hormones, those types of things, and it also affects, digestion, metabolism, stress. So like it's got an overall balance that could go there, and the solar plexus is also one of those things that's connected to yourself, your self esteem, those types of things. I know that women have a way of beating themselves up. We do for every reason out there, right? And then fertility comes, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is all my fault. And it's nobody's fault. And so bringing that onto yourself can probably hinder that, right? So dealing with the solar plexus, opening that back up can help. And then the heart chakra, which is the next one up, this is the fourth chakra. So I love the heart chakra for many reasons. One is because it's like in the middle of the 7 chakras, and then it just brings that symmetry to all of it. I'm a mathematician, so all of a sudden it's like, oh, look, it balances. It's awesome. So the heart chakra is in the middle. And obviously located where your heart is, and it's associated with like emotional, your relationships, overall well-being. So a lot of times infertility, right, can affect your relationship with your partner or whoever. I know with me, with my Lyme, I started being so angry that this was happening to me, and that I was like, nobody gets it. And I'm the only one. And, my life sucks. And then I was like projecting and being angry at everybody around me and taking out stuff. And, here I'm like, I'm not doing that. And looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was such a horrible person. Like my husband should have probably like left me by then, but he didn't. And he just took it, whatever I was angry about that day. And then I took it out on him because we tend to take out our emotions and all of that stuff on the people who are closest to us. Right. And then of course, your partner like it's all so connected. This has a lot to do with your relationship, how you feel about each other, how you communicate. And so the heart chakra is really important for that. And then it also is a place to help reduce anxiety and stress And of course, that hormone balance, it can be connected to that too. And, with the whole stress, relaxation, those types of things like insomnia, depression, those affect all of the chakras. So if you're talking about like which one should you use and you're a little scared that you're going to quote unquote do it wrong, there is no wrong. And talking to somebody and figuring out like which chakra might be the most affected, maybe you work on that one a little bit more. But when you're dealing with things that are so broad ranging, then it's really good to go and balance all of them. Besides the fact that every day we wake up and do a few things and all of a sudden we're out of immediately, so it's good to have a maintenance plan of getting all of this back in alignment.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you've said. I think that I think yes, I would say because every client that I've had, and including myself, I went on a fertility journey, and you do go through so many different emotions. And yes, as women, we do tend to take things on ourselves, even if it's not necessarily an issue that's going on with us, or we fall under the unknown category. Women
Mhm.
instantly say, okay, like tell me what I can do so I can fix me, so I can be better.
Mhm.
And, it does. There's relationship things, there's so many different things. So, yeah, I think I love that you're talking about balancing everything. I love that like the main focus is on your heart and the sacral and the solar plexus. Um Now, I know some doctors are very against any type of vibration.
Mhm.
Um what would you say? Like I know you're not a doctor. I know you can't diagnose, and any listener, this is just a conversation that we're having
Right.
from someone who does sound healing themselves.
Mhm.
What would you combat that with? Like, because I truly believe that sound healing is so great for the body, but I would never want a client, obviously, I would never say, like, if you feel uncomfortable, then by all means do not
Absolutely.
proceed.
Absolutely.
Um, but I think it's important to know, like, how can you balance hormones with sound healing?
Well, like I said, a lot of it is balancing those chakras so that you can get those hormones back working the way they need to. For me, I know a lot of times hormones as well is connected to sleep because, your liver and all the detox and all of that happens when you sleep. And so when we're stressed and we're worried, our sleep is interrupted. So I think, as well as all the things that we've already talked about, getting your sleep, maintaining that sleep, like protecting your sleep. I am so protective about my sleep now. And I know because my doctor at one time had said to me, Vickie, if you don't fix your sleep, you will never get better. And the lack of sleep, and it's rampant in society how we brag about how we can live on 2 or 4 hours of sleep, and that's just not good. Most of my like entrepreneurial friends, it's really funny. I went to this event at one time, it was a small mastermind, and everybody who was, I'm going to say, in the make more money camp, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, in that make more money camp, I do this, that, maybe they're, I don't know, some other type of coach, right? But they're a coach. They're all like, yeah, I stay up until like 2 a.m. and I get up at 5 and then I exercise and I this and I that. And I'm like, oh my God. And then all the people who were in the health and wellness camp were like, we go to bed at 10 and we wake up at 8, and they're all looking at us like we're weird and how do we get anything done? And we're all looking at them like, you don't even understand what you're doing to your body right now. You are going to burn out. And, if you have somebody who comes to you who is having infertility problems, I didn't think about this in the beginning, but that, could be one of the first questions to ask too is how is your sleep? And is it interrupted? And can we fix that? Because that'll help so many other things. Because I know for me, that created like the brain fog, and then other things weren't working right. Like I said, the digestion, the liver, the pancreas, none of that's working right. And then on top of it, the amount of pain that comes with it. With lack of sleep, I didn't even realize that that was connected. But if you have somebody too, like back to your other question about like if their doctor or somebody saying to them, oh, this is hokey, don't do it or whatever, I would just encourage them, if they're open and somebody else is telling them don't do it, to just try it once or twice. I find that sound therapy is generally fairly gentle. And if they are worried that something's going to happen, just do it for a short period of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. Because it's true that when you detox with sound, you can get a big headache. You can end up with indigestion. You can end up burping, farting, pooping, all those things. That does happen. So it can get uncomfortable for some people. So it depends on the person too. Like, how many layers do they have? And how open are they to receiving? So we have to like kind of be gentle with taking off those layers one by one with the sound. But as well, if their doctor has a reason, whether maybe they have a pacemaker or maybe they've got metal in their body, or maybe they have, I don't know, screws, something else, insulin pump, something like that, then yeah, you want to have a lot of cautions with that. And in fact, we say not to generally do sound therapy on those people, with the exception of people with metal tend to let you know, because that metal can actually vibrate and have pain wherever they are. But I've worked with people with metal and it just depends. But, as sound healers, we have to be cautious of the liabilities that we take on. So we always want the client to like sign something that, oh, we've talked to the doctor. Even if we know they haven't talked to the doctor, they have to still sign it, because they need to be aware of what the risk could be. And we don't want to have that liability. There's been stories I've heard of that people have come to group sound therapies and they have an insulin pump. They decide they didn't want to tell anybody, and the insulin pump goes crazy and it, shoots a bunch of insulin, and they have fainted or, passed out. Luckily for that story, there were actually EMTs there, like at the sound, like talk about synchronicities, right? And being in the right place. So lucky and not lucky, because I don't believe in luck, but it was all great. And that those people were there and able to help, but that's not something that you want to happen for you. Or if somebody's listening and they're a sound therapist or looking for it, we don't want to just say it's going to be fine for everybody and then just go, because there are some people who it's not appropriate for.
Mm-hmm. And I can contest, like I've had some clients who I should say I've only had good experiences. I haven't had any bad ones.
Yeah.
But like I've had clients see yellow and see different colors when I'm doing sound healing on them. And I remind them, like I try and do one-on-one sessions instead of group sessions, just because I want to individualize it for each one of my clients who's interested in it. And I do a sound healing, like recorded sound healing playlist for them when they're in their waiting room before procedures. Because, speaking from someone that sat in the waiting room, my doctor was notorious for being late. And so when you've taken the trigger shot, you have exactly I think it's like 12 or 36 hours, something silly. It's been a while, but like you have is like a specific time frame before you ovulate. And then like, that's when they take your eggs and you have your egg retrieval and you're sitting there, you're thinking, okay, my appointment's at like 9 a.m. It's now like 10, 11, 12. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, like there's like 25 minutes before this, before this isn't going to work anymore. He always made it on time, but your appointment would be at like 9 a.m. and, all of a sudden it's like 11:30 and you're thinking, and you're in pain. You're in a lot of pain. So, and that was one of the things that I wanted to do for my clients, because I thought if you just listen to the sound, you just keep your body in a relaxed state, you're in far more ease and flow than in this like stressed out, when is this happening? Like, oh my gosh, because I've actually had many clients. And I've talked to a few different people, because I'm in Canada, that in the States, they actually they prescribe Valium to try and just like calm your body down before an egg retrieval or before a certain procedure, especially for people that are in such a stressed out state. And I found that fascinating, because I'm thinking you can do so many different things to relax your body that is not a synthetic drug, that, like you can just listen to, meditations or relaxation sounds. And, that's what I love about sound healing is it's such a natural, and it can be such a gentle thing. It doesn't have to be abrupt. And, when I do sound healing on myself, sometimes I don't feel anything that day. And then 3 days later, I've had moments where I just start crying out of nowhere. And my husband's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm releasing something. I'm releasing something. And he's like, what are you releasing? I'm like, I'm just aligning my chakras, I'm balancing myself. And I know, there's lots of stresses that go on in everyday life. And sometimes we hold on to something that someone said, not necessarily that was meant in a harsh comment, but we took it as a harsh comment and we hold on to that. And then, like you've said, everything becomes out of balance again.
Right.
And yeah, so I think it's fascinating how sound healing translates through the body.
Mhm.
And I've read articles about, new modern medicine where they're allowing some sound healing to be done before or after surgeries,
Yes.
and that like their recovery speeds up
Yeah.
dramatically.
Yes, like I wish that everybody, like all hospitals, all doctors would use this. I wish all the doctors would use sound therapy in their waiting room, like you're saying, because it's a fascinating thing. I don't know if you are in expert level, but um one of the guests on expert level was talking about eggs. So when you were talking about the eggs, I'm like, oh yeah, well, there's this thing too, like we as, we pass on things 7 generations deep. Some of the triggers that we have may not be ours. And we need to remember too, and I hope nobody takes this as a, oh my gosh, it's my fault. Blame yourself. Don't take this information as a way to blame yourself. Take this as fuel to relax and do something differently than maybe you thought before. Where our eggs, females are born with the number of eggs that we are going to have for life. So that means that the egg that you have and then the baby that you carry, it's actually your grandchildren, if that makes sense, right? Because those eggs then produce the baby that has the eggs okay, so you get it, right? So that means that having that calm and relaxed state when they're taking those eggs is like even that much more important because of what you're going to be passing on to not just one but 2 generations.
Mhm.
And when I found that out, that was super fascinating to me about how we're passing these things down. And I look at my kids and I'm going, because I didn't know this at the time, right? So sometimes and don't do this, but I do look at them and, oh gosh, did I give that to him? Did I do that? Did I, whatever. But also knowing that whatever issues or things that come up for us, there is a way to change and overcome them. So no matter what we pass on to our kids, we can be that generation that stops whatever it is, right? My mom has great anxiety, and I didn't want that for myself. So for my whole life, was reading books. The way she raised us was not the way I wanted to raise my kids. So reading books, changing habits, changing mindsets, all of those things created a generation that is not like that. And we haven't repeated it. So, even though I'm saying this, please don't think that there's nothing that you can do if, it's already like that. But I look at my kids, I'm like, okay, I gotta talk to them about this. Okay, I gotta talk to them about that. And there's so many things sometimes, but everything is changeable and everything is something that's overcomable. And sound is just one of those things that I feel has helped me to get to that place of um gosh, what would I call it? Like more positivity, more openness, and more of this feeling that the world is just such a wonderful, awesome place. And then sometimes, you get all this bad news and stuff. I'm going off on a tangent now, but get all this bad news and stuff, and you're like, gosh, is that really what's going on? And you can change that perspective. You can change that thought. You can change what's going on for your own life. And part of that is by, using sound therapy. And that's the reason why I want to do the Raise the World Vibration concert, and why I want to open a nonprofit and do all these things, because I just feel like these things that have been like, they've been using them for eons. Like this is ancient stuff that they were using that somehow just got buried and lost, or everybody decided it was hokey. And I think the world had to come to this point now of being in somewhat of a desperation of like, we don't want to keep being on all these pharmaceuticals. We don't want to be drugged up all the time. We want something that's not going to give us all these other side effects. I'm not saying, because sound does have side effects too, but the bad side effects that are going to be ongoing and then cause a whole different slew of health problems. So you try to solve one thing and you get another. So I think that fortunately, I don't know how you want to talk about it, but we had to get to this point. It's kind of like I had to get to a point with my Lyme disease that it was so bad that I decided I had to fight for my life versus just accepting it. And so I feel like that's a little bit of like kind of where the world is now, is that like we've gotten to that point where it's like, I don't want to accept this. I want something different for our lives and for the generations that are coming after us.
And I think, honestly, there's so many books that I have read, and I love to constantly keep growing and evolving. And I like how you talked about like the generations, because it is true. Like when my grandma was pregnant with my mom, like my mom's like eggs were developing inside of my grandma, which turned out to be me and my sister. And I don't like the word curses, but there's generational curses that, that follow down through the lines of, and the way that, I like how you mentioned how, you chose not to raise your kids the way that your parents raised you. And I think it's so, like, my parents grew up, like, taught us you work very hard for your money, you save as much as possible, and then you kind of start living your life in your retired years. And I've challenged them many times since I've really understood mindset and manifestation. And I'm like, I want to live my life now. I don't want to wait. And I think I was 22 when I was diagnosed. There was something wrong. There was something going on with my bladder. I was constantly getting bladder infections that would go straight to a kidney infection. And so they told me that they wanted to completely reconstruct my bladder. There was like a little flap that was missing on one side and it wasn't working properly on the other side. And the doctor was telling me, and he's like, the chances of you having children are going to be far less, because having a reconstructed bladder and like the weight of a baby or multiple babies, if you have more than one pregnancy, you can only technically reconstruct your bladder once. And this was many years ago. So I challenged my doctor. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go see a naturopath. I'm going to go fit like a nutritionist, something, figure things out, because I don't want my bladder reconstructed at 22 years old, because I knew I wanted to have kids, but I wasn't at that stage in my life to have kids. And that's the thing. I was many conversations was, you should listen to the doctor. The doctor's telling you this, they're educated, they know everything. I'm thinking, no, I need to listen to me. And I'm so glad I did. I never got my bladder reconstructed. And I've been fine. I've had I've had twins and I've had another baby. So I've had two pregnancies. But that's the thing. It's just, I read this book, Happier Than God, and it really changed a lot of my perspective. And he talked about how like mindset, manifestation, law of attraction, all of that, like it was used in ancient times, and many things in ancient times were so like they're still relevant, but they're hidden.
Yes.
And now, the world is evolving. They're finally getting to a better place that they can see alternative medicines. They can see what, ancient Greeks did and what, people did in Japan, and like herbal medicines and all of these different things that, have healed themselves, and how you can live this most amazing life. But by listening to yourself, doing things yourself, because there's so much power within. And, there's so many techniques like sound healing and different things that allow your body to natural come to this state and flow through. And you like, you can open your third eye chakra and really start getting amazing intuitive hits and understand a fertility journey, or letting go of anxieties or stress or grief or whatever things you're going through. And I'm so passionate about sound healing because I love what it can do for your body. So
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different applications of sound therapy too, and so many different healing tools as well. Because, some people are like, oh, I don't like that sound, or I don't like that instrument or whatever. That's okay. there are 50 bazillion other ancient tools out there that we can use. And, you think about it, they didn't have these things where they could use frequency, tuners and things that could check vibrations and whatever. All they knew was that it worked. And so they just continued with it. It's not until now that like we're using all these sciencey things to see if sound therapy really has an effect. And it's really interesting about some of the research and some of the sound waves that you see and how it affects water and how it affects sand and all of that stuff. But back then, like all they did was go, you know what, that works for me. And that's helping me. So they just continued to do it. So I love that back then they didn't need all this proof like some people need. And, if it works for one person, it doesn't necessarily mean that same tool, that same note, it's going to work for the next person because we're all different. Like humans are the only thing that like we're living things. So that's why, like the living things vibrate at different frequencies. And so our organs have different frequencies and stuff, but like a crystal, a rock, it's going to keep at that same frequency. So it's just so fascinating how we can change. And, sometimes it's just like that. We change depending on what just happened. Right. But, with the frequencies and stuff, sometimes I'm like, it doesn't really even matter. Like people want to know, well, why does that one affect that chakra? And why does this one? And I'm like, well, in ancient times, they didn't really know. And there's still some stuff that we just don't know. We just know that it's been working. And so we just continue doing it and we'll let the scientists kind of figure that out. And sometimes people don't like my answer to that. They think that I should have like this encyclopedia of knowledge and be all techie, like scientific, whatever stuff. And for me, it really wasn't my journey. My journey was, let me figure out what might work for me. Let's try it. Is it working? Yes, it's working. And then I backtracked into, wait a minute, frequencies, what is that? And looked into it because honestly, at that time, I didn't care. I didn't care the why. I just cared that it worked,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I honestly could talk for hours about sound healing because I'm passionate and I keep learning about it because I feel like I could spend another 50 years studying all the different things on sound healing and still not know everything. But I'm fascinated at how our body responds to all the different types of instruments. And, I love how you just have an option to heal yourself or just that added level of something to, ease you when you're going through something. And, I love that we have tools and things available to us that, 10 years ago, if you went into a fertility clinic, they'd be like, sound healing, what? Why? Who?
Yeah.
What? And you'd be like,
Yeah.
okay. So you were interested, you were going to play some sounds for us.
Yeah, if you think that people would like it, I'd love to share some of the things. So I pulled out some different items and I got to change my microphone so that my voice might sound a little weird after
Okay.
I change the microphone. I'm not sure if it might echo a little bit, but it's so that it can pick up all the tones.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll start with the tuning forks and then I'll move to some of the louder instruments because then I can move somewhere else.
Perfect.
All right. So, and you can let me know if you can hear these. So this is a sacral tuning fork. It's a Solfeggio 396 frequency. And then this one's the solar plexus. This is 417. And then this is a 528. It's also considered a miracle tone and DNA repair. So this is a very special tone that a lot of people really, really just default to. Were you able to hear those?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, then do you want me to explain each of the instruments or do you want me to just play?
How about you just play and then we can do a little explanation after?
Yep.
Thank you. That was so nice.
Oh, you're welcome. All right.
Did you want to explain a little bit about the crystal bowls and the wah-wah tubes that you used?
Sure. Oh, I can hear an echo. Did I mess up the?
I don't hear one on my end.
Oh, okay. So first, the tuning forks that I did, they're weighted tuning forks. And so these are used, you can use them on the body, and these are on this using the Solfeggio tones. The cool thing about the Solfeggio tones is there originally were 6, and then they added 9 more in like the 1970s or something. And they were originally used in Gregorian chants. And like Gregorian priests, they would use these to bestow blessings on their congregation. And then later on, they were actually banned by the Catholic Church. And then they were rediscovered. So sometimes you'll hear them as the sacred Solfeggio tones or the secret Solfeggio tones. And the cool thing is that even though we assign certain chakras, just because we tend to like order, right? And people like to have rules. This is another thing where people sometimes hate my response. when, it's like, okay, well, which one goes with which one? Well, yeah, we assign certain chakras just to make it easy on us, but really the solfeggio tones help open up and align and balance all of the chakras, which makes them really, really cool and just so useful for so many different things. So the wah wah tubes that you heard that go kind of wah wah wah, those were created after kind of, I don't know if they were really modeled after, but like the guitar pedals, the wah wah pedals, and there's a little hole on them. I know on a podcast people can't see that. There's a little hole on it that I put my thumb on, and you go take it on and off, and it makes that wah wah noise. And those are also solfeggio tones as well. So those kind of match, in essence, the tuning forks that I played. And then what else did I do? The bowls as well. I did the ones that we talked about. I did the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, and then I had to add the 528, the miracle tone bowl as well. Again, that one like is a great default for a lot of things. It heals all the chakras. And so when somebody says, if I could only buy one singing bowl, what would it be? It would be that one, because you can use it for everything, every chakra, and it's supposed to potentially, heal DNA. It's supposed to be miracle manifestation, just all of it's everything. I love it. And then I also have the chimes. So the chimes are a lot of times I'll like start with them. Sometimes I'll end with them as well. This one I decided that I would just end most of it with that. It's a handled, clear quartz handled singing bowl, and that one's a 528 as well. So like it matches everything. It's kind of cool to have that in the background and then play the other things. So that's how I ended it. So if you recall, or you can go back and play it, there was a sound that kind of went around in a circle-ish. That was a handled singing bowl, and then I played each of the crystal bowls to round it out. So we cleared some chakras there. We cleared the sacral, the solar plexus, and the heart, and we had some miracles, manifestations, and DNA repair in the midst of it. Yeah.
I thought it was beautiful. I love listening to sound. And I believe earlier in the conversation where you were talking about how like some sound, like sounds of people sometimes are just like, oh my gosh, get me out. But then some sounds can heal you. And I think that's so true. People can energize you or people can drain you. And so what I've started doing in my mornings, like when I try and meditate, I try and do it every morning. I don't always do it every morning, but I sit with my 528 bowl in my lap, and I hold it, and then I ding it once, and then I really think about my intentions. I think about what I'm manifesting. I play it for a second, and I just allow myself to feel so like incorporated, like just encompassed by it, because I do tell myself I'm healing my DNA. I'm really trying to align my chakras. I'm being in a place of ease and flow and just, and I do truly notice that when I sit with the bowl, my days are far different. And I don't know if it's because I focused on, meditating that morning, or just the fact that I got to hear the sound, that I was like, it's going to be a really good day. And it does turn out to be a far better day.
Yeah, it just puts you in a different mood. One of the things I used to do a lot is I would post my bath, and I'd always post like, I'm soaking in my bath, because this is a thing that I started doing because my muscles ache and my joints ache all the time. So I'm always in there, Epsom salt, so I have been known to refill the tub 2 or 3 times and sit in there for over 2 hours. So sometimes my sister and my friends will call, and they'll be like, are you in the bathtub? Because I'll answer, I'm in there and I'm not doing anything. And they can hear the water in the background. They're like, you're in the bathtub again. I'm like, yes, because this is where I do all my healing. So when I'm in there, that is also where I do all the cleansing, not of just myself. Like I will take in all the different colors and I'll glow them at different chakras. So like if you really want to concentrate on that sacral, pull in orange, let it go through your whole body, let it glow in that reproductive area, just meditate and sit in that. So anyways, I go through the rainbow of colors, and I do that while I'm in the tub. And then I also send healing and Reiki and energy out to all my people who are in my classes, everybody who's bought instruments. I send healing to their instruments. I cleanse their instruments from the bathtub. I send healing to the warehouse. I send healing to the manufacturer. Our instruments go through so many things. And even though I cleanse them and I send Reiki and intentions and blessings to them, like after I'm done, somebody else has handled it. It doesn't matter if it's overseas, it doesn't matter if it's here, the postman, the truck, the whoever, like there's so many hands touching it. And so I try to cover everybody as much as I can, as often as I can. And I actually have a Merkaba. So this is not anything in the course, but I put a Merkaba over the warehouse that they're manufacturing the bowls and the pyramids and all of that. I bestow blessings on the people who are handling them. And this is what I do in the bathtub. And I go like one by one through all of this. And then I rinse and wash because water is such an awesome thing, right? And then I throw all of the negativity and I let it drain down the drain. And so it's funny because people are like, do you actually do this? I'm like, yeah, I actually do this because it's on my website that I do this. I'm like, I'm not joking with you. I do this. I care. I really want everybody who is going through the courses, everybody who is buying things from my store to get cleansed and to have the healing that they need. And so this is what I do. And on my website it says it's cleansed before it's sent and all that stuff, which is true. But what I don't say on the website is I continue to send it. And people probably don't realize that, but I continue to send it. And sometimes I get out of the tub, I'm like, now I want to go on social media and ask everybody how they feel because I just did that. Like, do you feel different now? Because I just sent you something. But anyways, I'm always curious, like after I do that, like what happened? Did anybody did something happen for somebody? But that's what I do in my tub. And then I have my own quiet time with myself, handle anything that I need to for myself. Sometimes I do cord cutting, which is great for your fertility people too, to cut some of those cords. And like I said, I just like wash it all down the drain. See you later. So I love doing that. So that's what I kind of consider my meditation time. It's in my bathtub.
That's awesome. That's very sweet. I think that's amazing. And I think some people will absolutely feel some things. And sometimes I don't feel people are as intuitive as they want to be. So
Yeah.
they might notice something, but to a lot of people, it's a coincidence, or they're just like, oh, that was kind of cool. But
Yeah.
they don't register. So I think that's honestly, I think that's amazing that you send the intentions. And I think that's, all the instruments that I have I've purchased from your store because I very much wanted to buy something that I knew, like instead of purchasing, not saying anything bad about Amazon, I buy a lot of things on Amazon.
I do too.
Um, but it's just when you know that there's, a Reiki session done or something that's sent through and you know the quality versus just saying, okay, I bought something off Amazon. Like just everything when I was researching buying some of my sound healing tools, I thought, not only has she taught me this course, but everything that you had on your website, I was like, I'm just going to buy everything here. I don't need to do any further research. And I did do some other research, but I was like, wow, like I love everything that you have in your store. And yeah, so as much as I can keep building my collection, I'm going to keep building my collection because I just, it's amazing. I really think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We honestly have had a few bumps and bruises this year because I was like, okay, we need to add these and add these. We need to grow the store, add more things, whatever. And then I was a little bit too ambitious about a couple things that we weren't quite ready for at the time. And I guess that's just how business goes, and that's how life goes, and we just move on and learn.
So, Vickie, is there anything else that you want to share with anyone or say about sound healing at all?
Oh gosh, I'm a lot like you. Like I could talk about this forever. We could play bowls and have a good old time. I really would just encourage people that, the most important thing when you're doing a session or having a session is to be open to the receiving. I know that sometimes we say that we want something and subconsciously we'll block it. We'll say, yes, I want this miracle to happen. Yes, I want to attract this. Yes, I want this to change in my life. But then in the background, subliminally, we're going, stop, no, because there's also a scariness. Sometimes it's more comfortable to say what even though you don't want it, than to get what you actually want and not know what's going to happen on the other side. And we do that. Like, I do that. Like, I think most people do that. We love to be in that comfort, know what's going to happen. I'm a control freak. I like to know what's going to happen. I'm learning to let that go. This has been very helpful for me to let that piece of me go. And I think, like I said, the biggest thing is just to be open to the receiving, because if you're not open to the receiving, then the healing doesn't happen. It needs your help. It can't just be like, oh, let's listen to this song or this thing, and yeah, it puts me in a happy mood or whatever. And then you can still be blocked because of that lack of being open to receiving. So I think that's the most important thing. If you want to try it, if you want to continue, all of that stuff, and just know as well that everybody has a different experience, and what we consider as something that may be negative may be something that you have to go through. So sometimes people will do sound healing and they'll get a picture from the past or a flash of something that they can't quite put their finger on, but there's a feeling, and they start to cry, or they feel like, oh, now I'm having a negative response. And while there are such things as negative responses, there are times when we have to open that picture, open that, that spot for us, so that we can move through it, let it go. And for me, I tend to take that picture, collapse it, and throw it in the vortex. So we sometimes have to go through those things, and it's not necessarily a negative. It's something that's helping you get to the place that you want to be or need to go, if that makes sense. So just because you have that experience doesn't mean that it's not for you, because I truly believe that everything works in our favor. Everything is working for us, not against us. So just dig a little bit and go, why did I need that in my life right now? What was the message that I was supposed to take from that, rather than, oh gosh, that was horrible, I'm never trying this again.
I think that's a beautiful way of ending it. Yeah, and I myself am a believer that everything is always working out for us. And I can contest from someone that went through, some very tough fertility journeys, that if someone said that to me during a fertility journey, I'd be like, this is not working out for me. I did not ask to be on this fertility journey. I did not ask to be paying a lot of money to have a baby, when, you see a lot of teenage pregnancies and other things, and you think, I actually really wanted this and I'm trying for this. But for all of the listeners today, really understand what Vickie and I are saying is that when you come to a place where you have the trust and faith in the universe or God, spirit, creator, whatever you connect with, you will come to see that this is just part of your journey. It's not anything that you've done wrong. It's not something is being done horrible to you, and that this is part of your journey, but you will come to see that things are always working out for you, even in the midst of contrast, when things seem like, there's bumps in the roads or things are not going the way that you want it to go. The universe, God, creator, spirit is guiding you through the path that you're meant to go through to get to the destination that you want, desire, or need to go through. And you will get to the place that you need to be. Stay the course for the contrast. Don't go outward and, feel like life is just always happening to you. Nothing good is happening. Go within and really start to see what you hold within, because it's what we hold within that has so much power and so much oomph and emphasis, because we are all literally a creature of God, creator, spirit, universe, and we really are all connected. And I can go way off in the woo-woo, as people can say, but the truth is that if you start to harness the belief that things are always working out for you, it doesn't have to work out the way you envisioned, because there is infinite possibilities of how things can work out for you. And, I read a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza. He talks very much science, but he very much talks about how we only use like 5% of our brain, and there's 95% of it that is all subconscious, that is programmed. So change your programming and things can change for you. And he talks about how he completely healed himself. I believe he's a quadriplegic. I know he was paralyzed. And now he walks, he does everything, because he healed himself because of his beliefs and harnessing within and not accepting what doctors have told, this was going to be your path. So that, I guess I could go on another tangent, but listeners, honestly, just find whatever speaks to you, whether it's sound healing, whatever things, if your ears tune up to it, listen to it. That is an intuitive hit that's coming to you to listen. And Vickie, thank you so much for, playing the sound for us today. I love hearing, because it is an intuitive thing, how you play your bowls and how, the wah-wah tubes and everything. So thank you so much for being here with us today. And thank you for playing the sound for us and sharing your wisdom and knowledge.
Oh, thank you for having me. Just getting to hear how you speak about these things and how you encourage people. I know that whoever's working with you is just very lucky to have you in their corner.
Well, thank you. So again, listeners, check out the podcast notes. I will have all the links to Vickie, and if you're interested in getting certified in sound healing or just even taking courses, I will have the link to her website as well, so you can reach out to her and connect with her as well. So again, thank you so much, and have an absolutely incredible day. If you found this helpful or know anyone that needs to hear this, please share. And don't forget to leave a review and subscribe. In love and gratitude, Jessica.